What's up, you guys? How y'all doing? I have returned for another video, and we got Nashville Supercross this weekend. Unfortunately, the season will go on without one particular person, and that's Aaron Plessinger. I already know that this is already kind of old news, but I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on it, so I'm just going to keep it a little short today. But first of all, guys, remember, subscribe. That's how this channel grows. I want to keep my monetization status on my main channel. And I hope to, still be making money on these, and hope to keep my monetization status. So, in the meantime, if you like what I post, just hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. Or if you like some of my other videos, like my game show runs or even my Press Your Luck series, just hit the subscribe button. So, anyway, guys, subscribe. Let's get into this. I'm going to put up my banner here. And although that this is kind of like news, kind of old news already, but still, for Aaron Plessinger to be out, that has to be one of the most gut-wrenching stories of all this season. I mean, I also was going to throw in something else here, and that being that something more recent was Phil Nicoletti will be retiring after the Supercross season. But first off, I'm going to start with Aaron Plessinger, get the old news out of the way first. But for Aaron Plessinger, I'm not sure if this elbow injury is the exact same one that Christian Craig has been dealing with all throughout this year. Now, obviously, Craig is on the mend. Will he be back for motocross? I sure hope so. Craig, I'm talking about. Plessinger is hopeful to make it back for the opener at Pala, and I have a fairly good suspicion that he will, especially since after looking on RacerX Online that Plessinger's elbow injury will not have to require surgery. And that's actually a very good thing. Quite honestly, did I think that Aaron Plessinger was going to win a race? No. His results had kind of been going every which way, even though he did make some podiums. He wasn't really consistently fighting for wins, which was a little bit disappointing. And, of course, a lot of times people say that once you get that first one, then the monkey's off your back, and then they come a lot easier. But in this talent pool in the 450 class, nah. No, you have to have the right circumstances. And so far, ever since San Diego, I don't think Aaron Plessinger has been given the fair circumstances that he really deserved. Because, really, for Plessinger to kind of be fighting around 5th, 6th, or 7th, which has kind of been where he's been as of late, that's enough to kind of ding your confidence, especially after a win so early in the season. And now, some would say that, Plessinger lucked into it because Roczen went down, which is true, but I don't see it that way. Why? Because that track of San Diego was mud, but it wasn't the goopy kind of mud, kind of like what we saw at San Francisco, or even some other races like Daytona 2008, where it was just a swamp. And San Francisco was certainly a swamp as well. But I think Daytona 2008 was much, much worse. Not going to lie to you. But for Plessinger, I saw him in the timing. I saw him down at the very bottom for timing and scoring, especially after hearing that he took a fall during practice. And when I saw that his time was really, really high, I didn't have a good feeling for him. Did I have him picked for the top 5 at Foxborough? No, because he had been kind of falling off the radar since that win at San Diego. But still, for Plessinger to miss the season, like I said, that's a gut-wrenching story, let me tell you. Now, fortunately for me, I've never had an elbow injury, but I had a pretty damn near close one, at least in terms of the body. Because I've been of course, some of you guys might know, I do ride for fun in my home state of Hawaii. And I've been fortunate in 26 years of riding to have only a dislocated shoulder. And that was in 2009. But the bad part about that was an incident that could have been prevented. And I'm going to get into that a little bit because in 2009, I was riding my dad's 450 and I kind of messed it all up because there was a guy down in a blind section and I didn't see it until it was too late. And I plowed into another guy who was kind of protecting him, I guess. And what happened was I ended up going down really hard. And as it turns out, I ended up dislocating a shoulder. And my dad and I had to fight traffic from the North Shore of Oahu all the way to the windward side to get myself checked out at the hospital. And so the unfortunate part was, now local pro former pro who's a Hawaii native, and that's John DeSoto, has been pretty vocal about this kind of thing happening, especially, and I'm sure a lot of other former pro riders would certainly be vocal about this. There was probably about 15 people on the sidelines, and nobody even thought to heed to oncoming traffic, to kind of make little hand motions to say, hey, slow down, there's a guy down, or even anything like that. But unfortunately, that's kind of like this. That's kind of becoming the norm with other tracks where you ride at, because oftentimes whoever is running that track or whoever rides at that track will wait until something happens, until they decide to make it a habit themselves of, heeding to oncoming traffic and telling guys to slow down and let them know that one of your fellow riders is down on the ground. Unfortunately, nobody did the same, did me that courtesy. And unfortunately, that kind of dinged unfortunately, I was out of work for a couple of months because I dislocated a shoulder. And fortunately, I was discharged the same night that I went in. But still, that was probably the time where I started to slow down a lot for riding. And I've been fortunate to have just that. But frankly, my dad's had a hell of a lot more injuries than I have. He's had a couple of knee injuries and even broken arms or something like that. But still, you look at my list, I've had only 2 injuries my entire life in 36 years. Okay. One of which is related to motocross. I already talked about that with my dislocated shoulder. But the second injury I had goes all the way back to 1998 when I broke my arm playing football. And I was in a cast for 6 months, and I didn't get to ride. And it was my left arm too, which is a terrible one, which was a bad injury for me because I'm a lefty. Okay. So Plessinger, I hope, will be back for Pala. So hopefully we'll see him then. And Phil Nicoletti, this is the second one I wanted to talk about. It was announced earlier this week that Phil Nicoletti will be retiring from Supercross after the season is over. And Philthy Phil, he has a column on Racer X online, which is pretty good. I've read a couple of them. But still, I hope that Phil Nicoletti can get a podium before the season is over. I mean, the guys at Muck-Off, the guys at Club MX and Muck-Off, I'm sure they love that guy just as much as everybody else at Racer X does. And I really hope that guy like I said, I really hope that guy gets a podium because he deserves it. I know for a fact that, I know just from watching Nicoletti from back in the day, that dude is fast. But that guy, if he can't keep evading all this kind of terrible luck, you're probably not going to make it. You're probably not going to make it very far in this sport. Maybe not to elite status, but at least making it to a top 3 finish. So congrats, Phil, on the tenure. I hope you get a podium before the season's over. You deserve it. And really, if he gets a podium before the season's over, that'll be the feel-good story of the entire decade. Not gonna lie to you. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. And remember, subscribe. We'll see you off for Nashville. I won't be watching the race when it's live. I'll be at UH Softball, and I'll have another video about that after this. So thanks, guys. Subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later.